Okay, folks, today we're going to learn how to make a wire stinger rig for catching barracudas and sharks and toothy critters from the beach. You can use it on the boats and stuff like that for catching kingfish and wahoo. Basically, what we're going to need is some number 7 wire. I've got probably a 6 or 7 foot piece of 80-pound test monofilament. And we're going to use 2 live bait hooks. These are number 5 owners. They're very, very, very sharp. And a swivel. And we're going to need a pair of wire cutters and a pair of pliers. So let's get started, guys. So first thing we're going to want to do is we are going to want to take the piece of our wire leader out that we're going to need. We're actually going to need 2 pieces of wire. One for our wire that splices to the monofilament. The other one for a stinger. So we're just going to take a section, probably, we don't need a whole lot of wire, probably 3 feet is about all we'll need. And I'll cut this here, put that away. Okay, now our first step is I'm actually going to tie a hook on, and I'm going to use an good old-fashioned barrel wrap and haywire twist. So you put your wire through your hook, and then what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to come down and create a 90-degree angle where, without pinching, without actually kinking your wire, create a 90-degree angle. And what you're going to want to do is you're going to pinch that 90-degree angle, and see how both lines are coming off equally. We're going to twist both of them. So I'm gonna twist both of the wires so that they're twisting equally and opposite, making sure that I'm not just twisting one, but I'm twisting both of them. And I'll do about 5 or 6 of those. Okay, so then what you should be left with is your hook with a bunch of nice tight wraps like that, and you have a V coming off of your bottom of your knot here that's equal and opposite. So now what you're going to want to do, your main line, so you have a tag end here, your main line, you're going to want to flatten it out and make it come straight off the knot. And then you're going to want to take your tag end and kind of push it up so it comes off at like a 90-degree angle right here. So this is going to be your main line, and your tag end comes up here. Now, and what you're going to want to do is this line you're not twisting. You're just twisting your tag end super, super tight about 3 or 4 times all the way around your main wire. Okay? And there, that right there. Okay, guys, this is your barrel roll. And then right at the end here is your haywire twist. It's really, really super tight. And that is, yeah, that'll show you. There's your barrel roll at the top, and then your haywire twist at the bottom. Is we gotta cut our tag end off. Cut that as close as you want. Okay, and always hold your tag end when you're cutting it, because when it snaps, it might fly off, and you don't want your wife or your dog or your kids stepping on that piece of wire, because it will go through your foot. All right, now, what you want is you want to cut another piece, probably a foot. I don't like using big, long wire leaders because a lot of fish are leader shy. Your tarpon, sometimes your kingfish can be leader shy. You know, the less wire, the better, in my opinion. So what I'll do is I'll get about a foot of wire, and then I'll cut it right there. And this is going to be your main leader, all right? And what we're going to do now, we're going to splice our wire to our monofilament. So you take your wire, you create a little loop at the top. Try not to kink it too much. Okay, now I've got my wire. I've kinked over probably 4-5 inches. Okay. Now I'm gonna go take my mono and I'm gonna go in through the loop. I'm gonna pull a pretty substantial amount through. Okay. And then I'm gonna wrap it around 1, 2, as tight as you can, 3, 4, 5 times. That's about right. I got 80-pound tests, so going much more than that won't be necessary. Then you got to lubricate it. So I'm going to lick it. Okay. Now, your tag end, you want to go in through the opposite direction that you put. So this line is coming in this way. You want it to go out the other way through the wire loop. Okay. And then you take your tag and you start to just tighten it down a little bit. Now you got a hook on here, and it's a big hook. You don't want to hook yourself, so you got to be careful. So I'll grab the hook with my fingers and I'll pull with the tag, kind of tighten it down, and it starts to get pretty difficult. But now this is why it's good to have a good pair of pliers. You grab on your hook, okay, and you grab on your leader, and then you just pull against each other, and it tightens down good. Now that's a good, solid knot right there, guys. This splice ain't going nowhere. And I just hooked my plier sheath and my shirt. Yeah, sharp hooks. All right. Now, I've got this knot right here. It's one of my favorite knots. I like this knot a lot, guys. I use it all the time. Now my next step is I got to cut my tag ends off. So I get my wire cutters and I can go down there. Oops, don't cut your line. That's done that before. Cut my monofilament tag. Cut my wire tag. All right, and now that is all set. So then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come to the other side of my monofilament. I'm gonna tie my swivel on. And I'm gonna show you a knot that I like to use. I call it the watch your lip knot. I don't know if it has a name. I've been using it since I was a teenager, and I kind of just playing around. I played around and made it up. And if somebody else has it, forgive me. I don't know what it's called. But so you put your line, and you like to use this with thicker lines. You can use this with rope. You can use it with all different types of lines. And if you want to tie anything and it's a slip knot, it's very, very helpful. So you put your line through your swivel. Then you make a loop. You come underneath your main line, and then I put my finger over the top of this little cross right here. And I take my tag and I go over my finger, under, over, under, like that. So I've got my swivel here, and then I've got 2 loops. So then I'm gonna take my tag and I'm gonna go through the 2 loops from the side of the swivel out back towards your leader. Okay, and then I'm gonna pull tight. Now this thing, that just cinches right down, and that knot right there is as solid as they come. I've used it a zillion times and I've never had a problem. I'm gonna cut my tag end off. So now I've got my wire leader done, but what I wanna do is, when you're fishing with toothy critters, especially barracudas and kingfish, a lot of times what they'll do is they'll bite the back end of the bait fish off. And that's super annoying. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna put a stinger hook on. So basically what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make a wire leader coming off of that one. Where did my piece of wire go? Where did my piece of wire go? I'm gonna take my wire and I'm gonna go through the eye of the hook that's already on my line. And I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna do a barrel roll haywire twist. And I already showed you how to do that. So I'm not going to labor it again, but just make sure that you're twisting on your barrel roll. Make sure you're twisting both lines equally so that they're both wrapping around each other. Do that about 6 or 7 times. Then straighten it out. Make sure your main line's coming off. Have your tag end come up off a 90-degree angle off of your main line. Then your haywire barrel roll. Then I'm gonna just slap this sucker around about 4 times. And then I'm done there. Cut my tag end off. Okay. Now, this is an important part because you got to figure out where to put your hook to make your stinger. Because if a kingfish is going to come, let's say this is through the nose of a blue runner or a goggle eye, and the kingfish comes and he takes the back end off, you really got to know where you're going to be putting your bait. So we're going to be using fairly large baits on the beach. We're going to be using blue runners. So I'm going to put it about 5-6 inches down. So I'm going to put it right there because we're using fairly big baits. All right. So we're going to go 6 inches down, and then we're just going to repeat that process. We're going to do a barrel roll haywire twist. Now I got to be careful because I got a big sharp hook hanging off as I'm doing my knot here. And make sure I don't hook myself or anything else for that matter. Okay. Then haywire twist into a barrel roll, and good. Okay. Always hold that tag when you snap it so it doesn't fly off into oblivion. All right, guys, our rig is done. So now what we get to do is when we hook our bait, we go through the nose, typically through the nose of the bait or up on top of the head, like in front of the dorsal fin. There's a nice piece of flesh there. And then what we'll do is we can either let this one hang free, or sometimes I like to just kind of stick it into the side of the bait where the line, the wire rests nice and flat against that piece of bait. If you're using dead bait, you can use this rig for shark fishing. That works just fine. I like using these hooks. They have really, really small barbs. So if you lose your hook on a fish, these barbs are really super tiny. You can even mash the barb down, and that's actually better for shark fishing. So guys, this is our rig. Hope you like it. And I've used it, like I said, many, many times, and it works wonders. And it's thin enough wire where even a tarpon will pick up a bait from time to time. So we've got our stinger hanging 6 inches off of our main hook. We've got about an 8-inch piece of wire going to our splice to an 80-pound monofilament leader. And we've got about 6 feet of that to a swivel. And we just attach a snap to that. That's on our line. That's wonderful. Now, storing this thing, I start here by the hook, and I'll do like a little circle, and I'll start with the monofilament, and I'll just sort of wrap it like this and try to do it as close as I can to making nice, pretty circles until I get, until I get to the end. And then I take my swivel and I'll wrap it in and around like 3 times. And then I'll take this and I'll take my stinger hook and I'll wrap this around in and through 3 or 4 times. And then I can put this, sometimes I can length these up. Let's try that. Yeah. So now I can put this in a Ziploc bag. I can hang it somewhere and that thing's ready to go when I want to use it. A lot of times when we go out in a tournament or something like that, I'll want to have at least a dozen of these made or more, and I'll make a whole bunch of them and just store them like this in little Ziploc bags when we go fishing. So guys, hope you liked the video. Give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. Until next time, guys, watch your lip. Let's get out there and catch some fish. Take care.